Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namasabhabhyah Sabhapatibhyascha Vo Namaha. Vagishadhyas Sumanasas Sarvarthanamupakkrame Yannatva Kritakrityas Yastannamami Gajananam Sharada Sharadam Bhojavadana Vadanambuje Sarvada Sarvadasmakam Sannidhim Kriyat Mala Sudha Kumbha Vibodha Mudra Vidya Virajat Karavari Jatam अपारकारुण्यसुधाम्बुराशिं श्रीशारदाम्बां प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम् सत्यज्ञानसुखस्वरूपममलं क्षीराब्धिमध्यस्थितम् योगारूढमतिप्रसन्नवदनं भूषासहस्रोज्ज्वलम् त्र्यक्षम् चक्रपिनाकसाभयवरान् बिभ्राणमर्कच्छविम् छत्रीभूतफणीन्द्रमिन्दुधवलं लक्ष्मीनृसिंहं भजे सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् शङ्कारूपेण मच्चित्तम् पङ्कीकृतमभोद्यया किङ्करीयस्य सा माया शङ्कराचार्यमाश्रये प्रह्लादवरदो देवो यो नृसिंहः परो हरिः नृसिंहोपासकन्नित्यन्तन्नृसिंहगुरुं भजे श्रीसच्चिदानन्दशिवाभिनव्यनृसिंहभारत्यभिधान्यतीन्द्रान् विद्यानिधीन् मन्त्रनिधीन् सदात्मनिष्ठान् भजे मानवशम्भुरूपान् सदात्मध्याननिरतं विषयेभ्यः पराङ्मुखम् नौमि शास्त्रेषु निष्णातं चन्द्रशेखरभारतीम् विवेकिनं महाप्रज्ञं धैर्यौदार्यक्षमानिधिम् सदाभिनवपूर्वं तं विद्यातीर्थगुरुं भजे अज्ञानाञ्जाह्नवीतीर्थं विद्यातीर्थं विवेकिनां सर्वेषां सुखदं भारतीतीर्थमाश्रये विद्याविनयसम्पन्नं वीतरागं विवेकिनं वन्दे वेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञं विधुशेखरभारतीम् सप्ताश्वरथमारूढं प्रचण्डं कश्यपात्मजं श्वेतपद्मधरं देवं तं सूर्यं प्रणमाम्यहम्. Namaskaram everyone. With namaskarams to Surya Bhagavan, with namaskarams to the Charana Kamalas of Ubhay Jagat Gurus and Sharadamba, we are meeting today to discuss a very significant text, a very heavy text, but at the same time a very common one. These kinds of texts are not rare in Sanatana Dharma. Krishna Sahasranama, Lalita Sahasranama, these are all very common. You will hear these almost anywhere you go in India. But nonetheless, they remain very heavy, very potent stotras that carry a lot of gravity. So, such a stotra that belongs to that category is Aditya Hridayam. So, this is something that we have heard and we have read ourselves many times. Quite possibly since we were young, if any of us were sick or ill, our elders have probably told us to do Parayana of Aditya Hridaya. It will be good for Arogya, because Arogyam Bhaskarad is one of the sayings, right? You must ask for good health from Surya Bhagavan. So this Aditya Hridayam has found great popularity in India. Before we talk about Aditya Hridayam, I thought we should just briefly touch upon the importance of Surya Radhana, and then perhaps move on to the stotra proper. So, as is pretty popular in all of our talks, Bhagavatpada is known as Shanmata Sthapanacharya. So he has established the system of worship of 6 main devatas. This is also what is called Panchayatana plus Skanda. So Saura, Ganapata, Shaiva, Shakta, Skanda, Vaishnava, these 6. So of these, 4 of them are the Shiva Kutumba. So Shaiva, Shakta, Ganapata. A lot of people say Ganapatya or Ganapatya. As per Panini, both of those are incorrect usages. It should be Ganapata. So Ganapata and Skanda. So these 4 methods of worship of Shiva, Shakti, Ganesha, and Skanda, Subramanya, are all one side. And then there's also Saura, worship of Surya Bhagavan, and then worship of Vishnu as the Vaishnava Mata. So the thing is, though, Surya Bhagavan is not just one of these devatas. Even if you're a Shaiva, even if you're a Shakta, even if you're a Vaishnava or a Ganapata or a Skanda, Or even if you subscribe to any other bheda of devata within these as well. So within Vishnu you have Rama, Krishna, Narasimha. Within Shiva you have Rudra, Nataraja, Bhairava. Within Shakti you have Lakshmi, Parvati, Durga, Kali, Saraswati, Sharada, all of these. So regardless of which devata it is that you worship, you must inevitably do Suryopasana. One of these is because, of course, we have it in the Vaidika Vidhi, Kale Sandhyam Upasita. So you must do Sandhyopasana, and in Sandhya the main devata is Savita. Yo Devas Savitasmakam, the devata of the Gayatri mantra, Saviturvarenyam Bhargaha, the tejas of Surya that propels our minds. Right? There is a very nice shloka that is given so that everyone can do japa of it, regardless of whether they have had Gayatri Upadesha or not. यो देवः सवितास्माकं धियो धर्मादिगोचराः चोदयेत् तस्य यद्भर्गस्तद्वरेण्यमुपास्महे is a shloka that anyone can do japa of. So yo devaha, that deva who is savita, that is Surya, asmakam धियो धर्मादिगोचराः prerayati. So that devata, savita, who spurs on, who incites, who compels, who propels all our thoughts relating to what धियो धर्मादिगोचराः, relating to dharma and others as well. Tasya Bhargaha, the tejas of that Bhagavan, the tejas of that Devata, Tadupasmahe. We do upasana of that, we worship that. We worship the tejas of that Surya. So this Surya is not just any Surya, but he is Savita. Savita literally means the progenitor, the creator, the someone that brings something into existence. Sudhatu, right? So Sute, one that gives rise to. So that is the Savita that we are worshipping. Regardless of which Devata it is that you worship, because of this Vaidika Vidhi 1. Number 2, all Devatas are worshipped as being Surya Mandala Antargata. All Devatas, regardless of who they are. Bhanu Mandala Madhyastha Bhairavi Bhagamalini in Lalita Sahasranama. Bhanu Mandala Madhyastha. Devi is seated in the middle of the Surya Mandala. In the same way, for Shiva also in Rudra, in Shatarudriya, you have that one Asauyastamro Arunota Babhrusu Mangalaha, that is referring to Rudra as Surya. Utainam Gopa Adrishanadaharya Utainam Vishwa Bhuta Nisadrishto Mridayatinaha. May that Rudra who is seen as Surya by all beings, may he give us Mrida. Saha Mridayatunaha. May he engladden all of us. So Rudra is also, and especially in Sayanacharya's Bhashya for that Bhaga Veda, he gives a dhyana shloka for different parts of Rudram. So not necessarily always broken up as this dhyana for this anuvaka. Like in the first anuvaka, there are several dhyanas given for different parts of it. For the part that Bhagavan is thought of as Surya, he writes Mandalantaragatam Hiranmayam Bhrajamana Vapusham Shichismitam Chandadidhidam Akhanda Vigrahan Chintayen Muni Sahasra Sevitam. Sayanacharya, he gives the dhyana shloka as that there. So Mandalantaragatam Hiranmayam. Rudra is shining with a golden luster, with a golden hue within the Mandalantaragatam, within the orb of the sun. And then, of course, we have the very famous shloka, Dhyayas Sada Savitramandala Madhyavarte Narayana Sarasijasana Sannivishtaha. So we must meditate upon Narayana as being seated within the Surya Mandala, within the Surya Bimba, upon a lotus. So, regardless of which Devata you take, they all inevitably find their seat in Aditya. Just as all Devatas are said to be the Tatparya of Omkara, as all Devatas are said to be Pranavavachya, all Devatas are also seated in Aditya. Because this Adityopasana as Brahman comes from Upanishads itself. So, you have Antaraditya Vidya. There is a Purusha within the Aditya Bimba. And then, of course, we will talk more about this in the Stotra, but Sayashchayam Purushe Yaschasavaditya sa Ekaha. Jiva Brahmaikya is told using Aditya as the locus of Ishwaratva. So we will talk about all of these later. But all of this Surya Tattva, the Surya not just as the Surya Bimba that we see rising in front of us every day, not just as a giant ball of gas that enlivens this planet, but Surya as Ishvara, Surya as Bhagavan, Surya as Paramatma, not just that, Surya as Antaryami as well. All of these different angles of Surya, in addition to the scientific aspects of Surya as well, all of these are wonderfully embedded, encapsulated within this Aditya Hrudaya Stotra. So now, one more thing before we start, we have talked about the Aditya part. Who is the Aditya that is being worshipped here? Now the Hrudaya part. So these Hrudayas they're actually a kind of genre of stotra in Sanatana Dharma. So just as Kavachas are certain type of stotra, Ashtotra Shatanamavalis are a certain type of stotra, or you have perhaps Bhujanga Prayatas are a certain type of stotra. In the same way, these Hridayas are certain type of stotra. Ganesha Hridaya, Shiva Hridaya, Lakshmi Hridaya, Nrisimha Hridaya, Aditya Hridaya. These Hridayas are all generally stotras that are set in very simple terms. Words are simple, but the Devata's tattva is the main focus. And quite very often they will sometimes just in some part of the stotra, they will just go on a list of listing out Devata's names, the names of that Devata, that perhaps quite succinctly or quite comprehensively embed that Devata Tattva. So that is that same Lakshana is seen in Aditya Hridaya as well. So if we first think about the Dhyana Shloka. There is one sampradaya of telling the Dhyana Shloka before this in the Sarga proper. This Dhyana Shloka is not found, but of course we have Sadachara also, right? Alaukika Vigita Shishtachara Vishayatvat. You must also do Mangalacharana as per Tarka. So Namas Savitre Jagadeka Chakshushe Jagat Prasuti Sthitinasha Hetave Trayimayayat Trigunatma Dharine Virinchi Narayana Shankaratmane. This is the Dhyana Shloka that is by tradition told before this. So, Namas Savitre, Namaskaram to that Savita, to that Surya, who is Jagadeka Chakshushe, the eye of the world. He sees everything. Sarvakarma Sakshi. Jagat Prasoti Sthiti Nasha Hetave. He is the cause of the Srishti, Sthiti and Layas of this Prapancha. Trayimayaya. He is comprised of Veda. This we will see later in Rigyajasama Paragaha. We will see that later. Trigunatma Dharine. He makes for himself various shariras that are made of the Trigunas. Virinchi Narayana Shankaratmane. And he is present as Virinchi, as Brahma, Narayana, as Vishnu, as Shankara, as Shiva. So already in the Dhyana Shlaka we see that this is not some Surya that is a particular manifestation of a Devata, or some Surya who is just a Graha out of the Navagrahas, or some Surya who is just some celestial object that we use to map time or something. This is Surya who is the root cause of even Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. So we think that perhaps only Shiva, Vishnu and Shakti have Purana Prasiddhi. Brahmanda Purana and Bhavishyatara Purana have extensive sections where they talk about Surya Bhagavan as this very Aditya. And in Veda too, we will discuss the mantra, but there is one mantra, Adityova Esha Etan Mandalam Tapati, for which Sayanacharya writes a quick line before that. If we just talk about that line, the stotra will make more sense to us as to why Aditya is being described like that. So in the Mahanarayana, part of the Taittiriya Aranyaka, which is later apportioned into the Mahanarayana Upanishad section, the krama is first you will get Narayana Sukta, right? So Sahasrashirasham Devam Vishwaksham Vishwashambhavam Vishwan Narayanan Devam, that whole thing where it talks about where Bhagavan is, where that Atma is in the heart. Nivar Shokavat Tanvi, Pita Bhaswat Yanupama, Tasya Shikhaya Madhya Paramatma, right? So all of that, Tasya Shikhaya Madhya Paramatma is there. So they talk about all of that, about the Antara Atma, about where Paramatma's locus is within the body. And then right after that, there is this Adityova Etan Mandalam Tapati Rachastadricha Mandalagam Sarachan Lokothaya Eta. So all of that comes. But prefacing that, so after the Narayana Sukta, but before this Adityopasana that is given, in the middle as a transition, right? So there needs to be a Upakrama Vakya given in the Bhashya there. So there's Ayanacharya writes, Narayana Shabda Vachyo Yaf Parameshwaraha Purvanuvake Abhihitaha Sa Esha Adityo Vai Sopadhikaha San Aditya Rupena Eva Vartate is what he says. So the Yaf Parameshwaraha Narayana Shabda Vachyaha, that Paramatma Purvanuvake Abhihitaha. That Parameshwara who has been referred to by the name Narayana and has been talked about in the previous Anuvaka as being within the Jiva, being Vitasthi above the Nabhi, there being a flame of fire there, and very in a very subtle form, like the tip of a grain of rice, Paramatma shines there. So the Paramatma that has been talked about in such a way in the previous Anuvaka, Sa eva Adityo vai sopadhikaha. He has taken upon the upadhi of Aditya. So the Surya Bimba that we see is not the Devata that we are worshipping. There is a Devata that is the Adhishthana Devata of that Bimba. That Surya Bimba is an upadhi of that Parameshwara. And he is the one, Aditya Rupena eva vartate, tasya upasanam kriyate. He is the one that we are worshipping right now. And for those of you that have the book Dialogues with the Guru of Chandrasekhara Bharati Mahaswami, very in the first few pages, in the first 20 or so pages, there is one conversation that Acharya has with the bhakta, and in that Acharya very beautifully delineates the sequences of Suryopasana. So first, so some people he is a ball of gas, to some people he is an elevated jiva, to some people he is a saguna ishvara, to some people he is a sopadhika ishvara, and then to the most realized people he is Brahman itself. So Acharya takes the bhakta or the shishya through all of these steps. So those of you that have that book, you can look at that there. But let us now go into the Aditya Hrudaya. So what is the nature of this stotra? There is this stotra is split into kind of three sections. There is a Purva Ranga, Tato Yuddha Parishrantam Samare Chintaya Sthitam, that gives us the backstory. And then Aditya Hridayam Punyam Sarvashatru Vinasham, all of that tells us that Aditya Hridayam is very important. Then there is a section in the middle, Sarvadevatmako Hyeshas Tejasvi Rashmi Bhavanaha. From there on, there is a section that talks about Surya Tattva. And then in the end, Enam apatsa krichreshu kantareshu bhayeshu cha kirtin purushah kaschinna sidati radhava, up to Atharaviravadan Nirikshya Ramam. Up to the end is kind of the Phalashruti. So what is the fruit of this Aditya Hridaya? What did Ramachandra do after that, etc. So first, what is the nature of this stotra? What does Aditya Hridaya say the nature of this stotra is? Aditya Hridayam Punyam Sarvashatru Vinashanam Jayavahan Japen Nityam Akshayam Paramam Shivam. So there are certain Visheshanas used here to describe Aditya Hridaya. First of all, it is Punya. It is Pavitra. Sarvashatru Vinashanam. It destroys all Shatrus. Not just the Shatrus outside, like Rama is fighting Ravana in the scenario. Not just the enemies that fight is outside, but obviously the enemies inside as well. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Madamatsari, all of that. Jayavaham, it enables victory. This word Jaya, the Ji Dhatu, this word Jaya is a very common one that is used, right? Tato Jayamudi Rayet. Why is Mahabharata called Jaya? Right? And very commonly we say that Jayato Devo Devaki Nandanoyam, Jayato Krishno Vishnivamsha Pradeepaha. This Jayati Chintamanir Jayati Soma Girir Gururme. A lot of these times we use the word Jayati to talk about Devatas. Sometimes it comes off as a bit odd, right? Usually we ask the Devatas for victory. Who are we to say, may this Devata be victorious? Shivo Jayato, Vishnu Jayato, Narayano Jayato, Vijayate Gopala Chudamani. Who are we to say that Gopala Chudamani should be victorious? Who are we to give Krishna victory? He's the one that gave Arjuna victory. So the word Jaya does not just mean to win, but it means to be Sarvatishayita. It means to excel all else, right? If two people are there and one of them has Jaya, it means that he excels the other. So when we ask a Devata to have Jaya, or when we say Jayato or something, we mean that we intend them to excel all else in our drishti. We go about our daily lives valuing several things, valuing the house, valuing family, valuing money, valuing our job, valuing our emotions, valuing our friends, valuing our possessions. There are several things that we value. But in the end, we want Parameshwara to exceed all of those in importance to us. See, his importance is anyhow more important than the rest of that. But to us, we need him to be that important to us. So when we ask for Jaya, that is what it is. So Jaya Vaham, this will grant us that Jaya. The Jaya of finally having Ishvara be everything to us. Sarvam Brahmamay and Jagat, being able to recognize that. Japan Nityam, this should always be, Japa of this should always be happening. No, naturally, we cannot always be sitting down in our puja mandira doing japa of this. But what this means is this tattva chintana, this chintana of Bhagavan as Aditya needs to keep going on in the mind. Right? Ajapa Gayatri is one thing that they say. It is not, it's one thing to do japa of Gayatri sitting down during Sandhya time. But Ajapa Gayatri needs to keep going on in the heart. So for all thoughts, you need to make that mantra or that Devata Namasmarana a backdrop. It needs to happen at all times. That is Japan Nityam. This Surya Aradhana needs to happen in our mind always. Akshayam. If it is done so, it gives Akshaya Phala. Akshayam means something that does not have decay. Paramam Shivam. This stotra is the greatest of all auspicious things. Right? Mangalanancha Mangalam. Pavitranam Pavitranyo. Mangalanancha Mangalam. Daivatan Devatanancha. Right? That Mangalanancha Mangalam. So another interesting thing here, the most auspicious of auspicious things. So, see, it is one thing if this is just a Devata Grantha, but if we are trying to get Brahmavidya out of this too, we need to apply some more keen blades to this to understand it. In a lot of Brahmasutra Bhashyas, or in Tikas, for example, Parimala or Kalpataru or these kinds of Granthas, in a lot of, or even in some of Bhagavad Pada's Upanishad Grantha, Upanishad Bhashyas as well. For example, before Taittiriya and such, they will write some Mangalacharanas. So in Mangalacharana, what you do, you either do Namaskara to a Devata, or you ask for the Anugraha of some Devata. So, but in some Vedanta Granthas, specifically in Granthas relating to Advaita Granthas relating to Brahma Sutras, they will do Namaskaram to Brahman and not necessarily Namaskara, because you cannot really do Namaskaram to something that is Nirguna. So you will have something like tas Yadavidya Vilasena Bhuta Bhautika Srishtayaha Tannavami Paramatmanam Satchidanand Vigraham. So he will do Namaskaram to that Parabrahman, which has no qualities whatsoever. So why? Because they say that for other devatas they need to grant Mangala, but there is nothing more auspicious than Brahman itself. Why? Brahman is Jnana. Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate is what Bhagavan says. So there is nothing more auspicious, nothing more purificatory, nothing more shuchi, nothing more pavitra than Brahman itself. So just thinking of Brahman or any Brahma Vidya is therefore the greatest of all auspiciousness. Paramam Shivam, Mangalanancha Mangalam. So that is the Aditya, the nature of Aditya, the nature of this Vidya, right? Not the stotra per se, but the meaning of the stotra. What is it that the stotra is telling us? This is the nature of the jnana that lies embedded within this wonderful stotra. So before we talk about some shlokas per se, Aditya Hriday is very nice because it'll just list out some names. For those people that find happiness in Namasmarana, it is beautiful because Nama after Nama, Vishishta Nama keep coming. Some of these namas, though, we may not realize. So things like Arka, Martanda, Ravi, these are all names that we are used to seeing in regards to Surya. But some names we may not easily recognize, or we may not, their meaning may not even be apparent. Some like Ghanavrishti, one who causes great rain. Apam Mitraha, the friend of water. Things like this. Mandali, one that is within a mandala. Some of these names are, kind of evident. Some names are a bit more, I guess, less mainstream. So I figured I would talk about one or two of those first before going into shloka specific. One of these is Agni-garbha, Aditev Putra Shankha Shishiranashnaha, etc. Agni-garbha, one who has Agni in his garbha. Agnir garbhe yasya, kind of like Chakra hasta. Chakram haste yasya. In the same way, Agni garbhe yasya. One who has Agni in his garbha. One thing I guess you can take is that, the process of fusion and fission keep happening within Surya. So in that sense, he has a fire burning within him. But one thing here is Agni is anything that is pavitra, anything that is lokopakara, anything that is helpful to man. One of the definitions. Tvamadnedhyabhistamaashukshnastamadbhistamaspanaspari ashmanaspari tvamanebhistamo is one of the mantras we have read. So you are born from forest, you give us oshadhis. Tan ranan ripate jayase, you are like the leader of men. Agni, jayase shuchihi, you are ever pavitra. So such an Agni is a vibhuti of Surya. So when Agni is a vibhuti of Surya, it means that Agni exists within Surya. So Surya being Paramatma, such an Agni, such an Agni that does lokopakara all the time exists within Surya. Agni Garbha. Shankha we usually think of as a conch, right? A conch shell. But Shankha, the Vyutpati that people have given here is Shamayati Dukkham, is Shankha. One who removes sorrow, therefore he is Shankha. In another thing, the Sapta Saptihi. Saptihi means a horse. Sapta Saptihi, one with 7 horses. So the 7 horses of Surya are the 7 chandas, the 7 Vaidika chandas, the 7 meters of the Veda, 7 Vaidika chandases that exist. Those are the 7 horses of Surya. Another explanation is also given in various Veda Bhashyas that these are the 7 colors, the Vibgr of the rainbow. So the 7 colors that light takes within itself, those are the 7 horses. Another meaning is given, which is why in some places in Veda the word Ashwa is used to mean Surya Kirana. It's used to mean the rays of the sun. Many such interesting things are given in Veda. Another word Tvashta, right? So we have one Tvashtra Prajapati, that is a very frequent Puranic figure and also Vedic figure as well, the progenitor of Vritra. So this Tvashta is one such name, but here it means the sculptor. Tvashta means someone that sculpts. So Surya is a sculptor in 2 ways. One, a sculptor creates a statue. So Surya sculpts this world from its avyakta state into its vyakta state. Another thing that they have given is he is samharakarta, namely a sculptor not only sculpts the statue but also chips away at the rock. So in the same way, he also chips away at this world gradually, unendingly, until pralaya happens. Another one, Saranga, we'll talk about that later. Vindhya Vithi Plavangama. Vindhya Vithi, yes, it has the Vindhya mountains in it, but it refers to Akasha, one who traverses the sky. One thing I wanted to mention when we said Sapta Sapti. When Aditya has 7 Suryas, there is one saying, Bhanu Sakridyukta Turanga Eva. This does not have any perhaps Brahmavidya applications, but this one saying, Bhanu Sakridyukta Turanga Eva, Surya has only tied his horses once. So generally in war, for example, Mahabharata Yuddha happened for 18 days. Every day they tie the Arjuna, for example, he tied his horses to the chariot before that day's war, and then once that day's Yuddha is over, he releases the horses. In some cases also they will even untie the horses in the middle of the day. So for example, in the 14th day when Arjuna is trying to kill Jayadratha, the horses get tired after going deep into the Kaurava army. So there Arjuna makes a lake from his arrows, and then Krishna releases the horses to go wash themselves in that. So many people's horses, they are always released tired, depending on their use. But Surya, he says Bhanuhu Sakrid Yukta Turangayava. Sakrid means only once. Surya has only tied his horses once. He has not had the problem of keeping on putting his horses into action. So what that means is the industrious people, they only start their work once. From then on, they will not stop until they finish it. Of course, many people with lower work ethics, they will do something, they will stop. Someone again needs to push them, keep, no, please do the work, please do the work. They will start again. Then again, they will stop after some time. Surya does not have such a work ethic. He has only tied his horses once, and those horses have been running since then. One very nice thing. And then he is Vindhya Vithi Plavangama. He traverses the sky, the Vindhya Vithi, the streets of the Vindhyas. So the Vindhya mountains are very high, lofty mountains that even competed with the Meru Parvata in the Puranas. So such the Vithi, the streets that encompass those Vindhya Parvatas is the Akasha. So Vindhya Vithi Plavangamaha. He traverses those, even those, the lines of those, the Akasha. And then the first few shlokas, so now let us talk about some shlokas. These shlokas show different aspects of Surya. So the first couple talk about him as Sarva Devatatmaka. Not in the way where we talked about before, where all devatas being worshipped as Brahman or Surya. So for example, if you're a Shaiva, and you're doing Rudra you will, Rudra is Brahman, but you will meditate upon that Rudra as in the sun. Or if you're a Vaishnava, you will meditate upon Vishnu, but that Vishnu is in the middle of the sun. Or if you're a Shakta, you will meditate upon Lalita as Brahman, but that Lalita is Bhanumandala Madhyastha. Here, though, what they're talking about is that Surya is all of these devatas that perform all the functions of the world. Right? Sa Atma, Anga, Anyanya, Devata. So that Atma is the Atma of the cosmos. And the limbs of that Atma are all these devatas that do various things. Right? So, in that same way, here you have Sarvadevatmako Hyesha Tejasvi Rashma Bhavana. Esha Devasurganan Lokan Pati Gabhastibhi. Esha Brahmacha Vishnuscha Shivaskandaf Prajapati. Mahendro Dhanadah Kalo Yamas Somo Hyapampati. Pitaro Vasavas Sadhya Yashvino Maruto Manu. Vayurvanhif Praja Prana Rutukarta Prabhakaraha. So this is the thing. So first, interestingly enough, they give the matas. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Skanda, Prajapati. Vishnu, Shiva, Skanda, Prajapati. Prajapati you can take to mean the Prajapati Gana. So the Daksha Prajapati, all these Kashyapa Prajapati, these Prajapatis. But in Vaidika Paribhasha, Ganapati and Prajapati have a lot of overlap. So you can take Prajapati to be Ganapati too. That way you will see that he is the Vishnu Devata, he is the Shiva Devata, he is the Skanda Devata, he is the Ganapati Devata. Aside from that, though, he is Mahendra, Dhanada, Kala, Yama, Soma, Apampati. Apampati is the Lord of Waters, Varuna. Now, another thing we might wonder, why Kala and Yama? Yama here is death. Kala is the god of death, the Yama Dharmaraja. Kala is Sarvadhara, so the dimension of time. The Surya is the dimension of time. Because even in Nyaya, right? Paraparatva dhihetuhu kshanadisyad upadhitaha, they say, right? So the Kala is only one. but the upadhi is within kala. So either kshanaditah, so either kshana or muhurta or ardhamasa nasascha kala muhurta kashtha kala muhurta kashtha ascha aho ratrascha sarvatah ardhamasa masa ratavas samvatsarascha kalpantam. Right, we get so that kala muhurta kashtha, that samvatsara muhurta ardha muhurta, all of these spans of time are based on what for us in the earth, on the sun, which is why they say Surya Parispandadikam Ganyate. When you look at that, you're looking at the Parispanda of the Surya in Muktavalli. Surya Parispandadikam Ganyate. The Parispanda, the throbbing of the sun, or the gates of the sun, or what are being counted as this. So he is Kala, Sarvadhara Kalaha. Right? That is the thing in which everything happens. Whatever happens in this world, all kriyas that happen within some Kala. So that Sarvadhara, that is Kala, is Surya Swarupa. Apampatihi Pitaraha, the Pitradevatas are Surya. Vasavaha, the Vasuganas, the Ashta Vasus are Surya. Pitro Vasava Sadhyaha, Ashvino, the two Ashvinas, and then Maruto, the Marudgana, Manuhu, the Manus that are the causes of these propagation. All of these are Rutukarta Prabhakaraha. These are all Surya. And then another shloka, Vyomanathastamo Bhedi Ruggirsama Paragah Gannavaram Mitro Vinhavithi Plavangamaha. Vyomanatha, the Lord of the sky, right, the most effulgent luminary in the sky. Tamo Bhedi, he destroys tamas both within and without us. Ruggirsama Paragah. This is the name that I wanted to talk about, because this is one thing that we must focus upon when we do Upasana of Devatas, so of Surya. So when we do Upasana of Devatas, they will always give us something to latch on to within the form. That is the reason why I wanted to talk about this for a bit. So, for example, when we have Lalita Devi, for example, she has three kotas, right? The Shakti kota, Madhya kota, and then the Kamaraj kota, those Vagbhava kota. You have those three kotas within her body. So her face, her torso, from her waist and from her waist below. But then there is the Panchadashakshari mantra, which has three kutas, three avasanas, each separated by a Maya Bija. So each kuta of the mantra is told to be meditated upon as this part of the Devata, the Devata's body. So they will give us some connection from the mantra to the Devata, or from the Devata Tattva to the Devata's form. In the same way here, we have Rugyirusama Paragaha. So one meaning is Paragaha means one who is well versed in, because Surya is Vidya Devata also. Surya gives Vidya, right? He is Hanuman's guru, right? Hanuman is, Vagyadam Varenyam, right? Hanuman Vakya Kovidaha, Buddhimatam Varishtham. The one who made Hanuman into such an educated soul is Surya Bhagavan. So not just that he is, the par excellence in these Vedika Vidyas, but Rugyajus Samani Param Sangachante Atra Asmin. So Rugyajus and Sama all find their para, namely their avasana, within him. Rugyajus and Sama find their final resting place in him. Namely, he is the final purport, the Paramatatparya of these Vedas. And another thing is, these Vedas exist in him. They are him. They find abundance within his form. And we see this Adityo va esha etan mandalam tapati tatracha tatratarachastadricha mandalagam sarchan lokothaya esha etasmin mandalerchir deepyateta nisama nisasamnan lokothaya esha etasmin mandalerchi purushastani nirogam shisairusha mandalagam समण्डलगं स यजुषान् लोकस्सैषा त्रय्येव विद्यातपति स य आदित्ये हिरण्मयः पुरुषः is the line from Upanishad. So Adityo va esha etan mandalam tapati. Right? This Aditya, he shines. This mandalam tapati, this mandalam shines within tatra taha richaha. There within that mandala burn these riks. Tad richa mandalagam saruchan lokaha. That mandalam is rucham lokaha. Lokaha means Sayanacharya writes nivasasthanam. So within the mandala, so within the bimba of the Surya, so within the orb of the sun, that orb are all the Rik mantras. So Rig, Sama, Atharvana Vedas are the books, the divisions of the Vedas. But these Vedas are comprised of three types of mantras: Rig mantras, Yajur mantras, Sama mantras. Rig mantras are mantras set in Chandas. Yajur mantras are mantras that are not set in Chandas. And Sama mantras are Riks set to special swaras, so with extra swaras. So these three types of mantras comprise the corpus of Veda, which is then divided into Veda book, Yajurveda book, Samaveda book, Atharvaveda book. So these Rik mantras form the mandala of Surya Bhagavan. And then etasmin mandalerchir deepyate. Within that mandala, there is a tejas, there is a light, an archish, a kanti that is there. So that light of the Surya is tani samani. एतस्मिन् मण्डलेऽर्चिर्दीप्यते तानि सामानि स साम्नाल्लोकः. So that archihi is samnam lokah. That the shine, the luster, so the orb of the sun, so the shape of the sun is the abode of the Rik mantras. The archihi, the shine, the luster, the kanti, the deepti, the didhiti of the sun is the sama mantras. And then saya etasmin mandalerchishi purushaha. Mandale, within the mandala, archishi, within the archihi, there is a purusha, there is a some being that is there. Tani yajogam shisairusham mandalagam sayurusham lokaha. Right, so that purusha is the loka of the yajus mantras, the yajur mantras. So in this way, the three types of mantras you have: Rik, Sama, Yajus. The Rik mantra is the mandala, the Sama mantra is the kanti, and the Yajur mantra is the Purusha that is within, the Adhisthana Devata of that Surya Devata. Saisha Trayeva Vidya Tapati, that Trayeva Vidya, Saisha Trayeva Vidya Tapati, Ya Esho Antara Ditye Hiranmayaf Purushaha. So that therefore, this golden Purusha that is Hiranmaya and exists as Aditya, he is Trayeva Vidya Tapati Antaraditye. That Trayi Vidya, so all Vaidika Vidya, all knowledge of the Vedas, all the mantras of the Vedas, all the jnana of the Vedas shines within this Purusha, wherein that Hiranmaya Purusha, that is Paramatma himself, is there. So this is another such thing that talks about Surya's Tattva. And then also we have Nakshatra Grahataranam Adhipo Vishwabhavanaha Tejasamapi Tejasvi Dvadashatman Namostute. So the nakshatra graha taranam adhipaha. Nakshatras, constellations, tara, graha, anything with gravitational force. So planetary bodies, etc. Tara, the stars. So for all of these, he is the adhipa. He is the master of all of those. Not just in this galaxy, because there are several instances in Veda, in Puranas, and in Itara Granthas too, wherein it is very obvious to us that we have several Suryas. Saptadisho Nana Surya, one of those mantras, right? Arogo Bhrajah Pataraf Patangah, right? And then Aditya Nag Sthane Satejasa Bhani, Aditya Nag, Aditya Nam, Bahuvachanam is used. So it is very obvious to our rishis, because they are seeing with more than eyes, that there are several Suryas, several suns across several solar systems, across several galaxies in this universe. So in all of those, though, it is the star that shines surpassing all else. So he is the Adhipa, Surya Devata is the Abhimani of all of those, not just of our solar system sun, but Surya is the Abhimani of all of those. Nakshatra Grahataranam Adhipaha Vishwabhavanaha. He causes this world to come into being. So Bhavana means Bhavana Karta. Bhavana. Vishwabhavanaha. Tejasamapi Tejasvi. He is the light of lights, or he is the most lustrous of those that have luster. Dvadashatman namostute. Namaskaram to you, O 12 formed one. What is this Dvadashatman? We think that even in the Aditya Gana, right, in the Devata Gana, we say Dvadashadityas. These Dvadashadityas are 12 separate Devatas for counting's sake. But Veda tells us Nana Lingatva Druto Nana Suryatvam. Right, in Arunam we get these Dvadasha Adityas are just Surya through the 12 different months. Because as the Rutu changes, we say that Surya has changed. Within the Rutu, as the month changes, we say that the Surya has changed. So the sun's position relative to the earth, or the sun's effect that it has on the earth, all of those are caused by Surya. So we say that it is a different, quote unquote, different Surya that causes that Rutu or that Masa, that is the particular Adhisthana Devata of that Masa. And based on that, we count these 12 Adityas. In Puranas, their names are given. So just for bookkeeping sake, Indro Dhata Bhagav Pusha Mitrotha Varunor Yama Archir Vivaswan Twashtacha Savita Vishnurevacha. These are the Dvadasha Adityas. Indra, Dhata, Dhatra, Bhaga, Pushan, Mitra, Varuna, Aryaman, Archish, Vivaswat, Tvashtra and Savita Vishnu. Savitra Vishnu. These are the 12 Adityas that are the Aditya Devatas. Dvadashatman Namostute. Another shloka. Nama Ugraya Viraya Sarangaya Namo Namaha. Namah Padma Prabodhaya Martandaya Namo Namaha. Nama Ugraya. Namaskaram to one who is very fierce. Anyone that that has been to Chennai in May or June knows exactly how Ugra that Surya Bhagavan can be. Fierceness. This fierceness is not just in terms of Bhagavan's Surya Bhagavan's heat, but Ugra Shatrudhiya Devaha. There are many Nama Ugraya Viraya, those that know my inclinations of Devata, and those who are well versed with the Narasimha mantra know the significance of these Ugra and Veera. But Ugra is used, Ugra Shatrudhiya Deva. Whenever Bhagavan counters anything that is adharma, you will get later Kritagnagnaya Devaya. Whenever that Ishvara, the Niyamaka, the Vishwa Niyamaka, the master of this world, encounters anything that is adharma, namely that is not in line with the homeostasis of this world, with the running of this world, he becomes Ugra. Another meaning of Ugra, he becomes fierce. Rudra, Kali, Chandi, Durga, any devata you will always find Ugra and Saumya. Saumyani yani rupani trailokye vichirandite yani chatyanta ghorani tai rakshasman tatha bhuvam. So this is a shloka from Chandi Saptashati. The devatas say. So those rupas of yours that are fierce, those rupas of yours that are not fierce, protect the world with all of these. With the rupas that are Saumya, do anugraha. With the rupas that are Ugra, do Dushta Nasha, Dushta Shikshana. With the rupas that are Saumya, do Shashta Rakshana and protect us. This is not just for Devi, but for all Devatas, you will find the same thing. The Shiva is both Sadashiva, who is doing dhyana, he is also Rudra. He is Thanu and Nataraja. In the same way, Devi is both Gauri and Kali. She is both, you know, Saraswati and Mahasaraswati. Mahasaraswati, if you look at the Dhyana Shloka, the Mahasaraswati is the one that kills Shumbha and Nishumbha in Devi Mahatmya. So she is very much capable of being fierce. On the other hand, is Sharada as normal Saraswati, then as she is so calm and peaceful there. Within Narasimha, Yoga Narasimha, Ugra Narasimha, there are two very Lakshmi Narasimha, two very different forms of that same Devata. Rama, you have Pattabhirama with Sita, you have Rama in front of Ravana, Ugramurti. So these devatas will always have two forms, because when you're doing upasana of them as Ishvara, they will always have the agraha and anugraha towards those who are deserving of that. Veera. Veera is a beautiful one, because this Veera is the meaning of the Gayatri mantra. Vishishtam irayati. Irayati means to propel. One who incites, who pushes on, who propels is Veera. Right? Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridayasherjuna tishtati bhramayan sarva bhutani. So Ishvara sits in all bhutas' hearts and drives them. He is the one that causes them to act. That is the meaning of Veera. So therefore Surya also is Veera. Saranga. This is a perhaps one that is not as heavy philosophically, but Saranga, Sridhatu, Srigatau, Sridhatu, and then Angach Pratyaya is a Tadhita Angach Pratyaya, Krit Pratyaya, or perhaps this is in the Unadis. I need to check that. But Sri plus Angach Pratyaya. So Sri, Angach, Saranga, you get Vriddhi and all that. Saranga means one Sarati. Sarati means to go. This Angach will give Visheshartha. So one who moves very quickly, one who moves very rapidly, right? So our forefathers were well aware of the distances that the sun was traversing relative to the earth, or that the earth was traversing relative to the sun. So he is Saranga, one that moves fast. Namah Padma Prabodhaya. This is neither philosophical nor scientific. This is poetic. Namaskaram to that devata that wakes up the lotuses in the morning. So, the maxim, the Kavi Samaya is that the lotuses will bloom as the sun rises. Seeing the sunrise, the lotuses bloom. So, they're saying that namaskaram to you that goes around waking up all those lotuses. Like a mother wakes up their child because they have to go to school, like that. A very nice shloka is given in Kshemendra's Charucharya. So they tell Kshemendra gives us a lesson to learn from these Padmas that are woken up by the sun. The son of the mother, not the son, S-U-N son, the S-O-N son of the mother. When the mother wakes him up, he will roll over, he won't get up. But when the son, S-U-N, wakes up the lotuses, these lotuses wake up immediately. They wake up as soon as the sun comes up. As Suryodaya happens, the Padmas are ready to wake up. Kshemendra gives us a life lesson from that. He says, Um, ब्राह्मे मुहूर्ते चोत्थाय त्यजेन्निद्रामतन्द्रितः प्रातः प्रबुद्धं कमलम् आश्रयेत् श्रीः गुणाश्रया. He says, where does Lakshmi sit? She sits in a lotus. So first he gives us the nyaya, the niti to be followed. Brahme muhurte chothaya, having woken up in the Brahmi muhurta. So just as the sun, right before the sun is rising. Because the way that Sandhyavandana is properly supposed to be done, whether we are doing it like that today or not, is Uttama Tarakopyata, right? You are supposed to do Pratah Sandhya while the stars are still out. You should do Gayatri Japa until the sun comes up, and then you say, okay, I have seen the sun, and then you do Upasthana facing the sun. That is the way that properly Sandhyavandana is supposed to be done. So one should wake up in that Brahmi Muhurta, Brahme Muhurte Chottaya, Utthaya, Tyajet Nidra Matandritaha. One should relinquish sleep Atandritaha, without Baddhaka, without sloth, without laziness. You should, when you get up, you should not laze around with that blanket over your head, pulling that pillow with you, walking into the living room, trailing that blanket. When you wake up, you should be ready to do work. You should not be lazy once you wake up. That is what Kshemendra is telling us. Brahme muhurte chothaya tiren nidrama tandritaha. Why? Because if you do this, Lakshmi will favor you. Lakshmi will stay with you. Lakshmi will stay in your house. Lakshmi being what? Not that Lakshmi Devi will, urgently book a flight from Vaikuntha and come and sit in our living room. Lakshmi is what? Shobha, fortune, good wealth, good wealth, good health, good habits, happiness. All of this is Lakshmi. So for such a person, Lakshmi will always be with him. The example he gives is Pratah Prabuddham Kamalam Ashrayet Shrihi Gunashraya. Shrihi Lakshmi, who is Gunashraya, who resides in good qualities. Where does Lakshmi sit? She sits in a lotus. She sits in a lotus because the lotus has the good quality of waking up in the morning. So if you also take upon that good quality of the lotus of waking up in the morning, Lakshmi will no doubt favor you as well. A very nice mix of, a niti, a moral, as well as a poetic touch to it. Again, like that, another shloka, Tamognaya Himagnaya Shatrugnaya Amitatmane Kratagnaya Devaya Jyotisham Pataye Namaha. Tamognaya, the destroyer of darkness, Himagnaya, the melter of snow, Shatrugnaya, the destroyer of enemies, Amitatmane, one who cannot be measured, one who transcends the limits of time and space. Kratagnaya, this is where we need to take a minute to talk about a Visheshartha. Kritagna, one Kritagna is someone who is ungrateful. One who punishes the ungrateful. Kritagna. What is this Kritagna? This world runs in the form of yajna. Whether not just the yajnas where the ahuti goes into Aditya. There goes into There also Aditya helps. Agno prastahiti samyaka Adityam upatishthate. So the ahutis that we put into Agni takes and keeps with Surya. Aditya jayate vrishtihi. Aditya then, Surya is then the cause of the water cycle for it to rain, because Surya evaporates water, water goes into clouds, there it is purified, there it falls, from there water falls. Aditya jayate vrishtihi, vrishterannam. From that rain, food comes. Tataf prajaha. From that food, all beings derive their sustenance. So this is the cycle that the world runs in. So in this way, there is an order set up in the world. One who does not follow that is called a Kritagna. So Bhagavan says in Gita, right? Evam pravartitam chakram. So, that whole thing that Yajnat bhavati parjanyo yajna karma samudbhava karma brahmodbhavam with brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajna pratishitam. That whole cycle. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyadanna sambhava yajnat bhavati parjanyo yajna karma samudbhava. That whole cycle that Bhagavan gives, starting from Anna to Brahman, and then showing how Yajna drives this, that chakram, this system, na anuvartayati hayaha. Someone that does not play his part in this, he is adhayu. His lifespan itself is most polluted, most tainted, a sinful existence. Indriya ramaham. He is overly given to sense pleasures. Mogham partha sajivati. His life is a waste. He is a waste of a life. We say these days, right? He is a waste of oxygen. That is what he is. He is a waste of oxygen. This is what Bhagavan says. And then also Bhagavan also says that Ishtan Bhogan Hivo Deva. So Bhagavan says that Prajapati said this. Ishtan Bhogan Hivo Deva Dasyante Yajna Bhavitaha. Tair Dattan Apradayebhyo Yo Bhunkte Stena Evasaha. So these devatas, right? Indra gives us vrishti, Agni gives us heat, Varuna gives us water. All of these devatas have given us this world to enjoy. So these devatas give us ishtan bhogan dasyanti. So these devatas give you things to enjoy. Tair tair aprayebhyo yo bhunkte. Tair nadatva aprayebhyo yo bhunkte. So one who, without offering some portion of this to those devatas, enjoys them, stena eva saha. He is a thief, right? So that is why we have the practice of Naivedya. Whenever we do any karma, sarvam krishnarpanamastu, ishwararpana buddhi. It is important, it is vital that we do both of these. We must take part in the cycle of yajna, and we must do some sort of dravya tyaga or karma tyaga to the devatas. The yajnas being the pancha yajnas. Devata yajna, doing devatopasana, manushya yajna, looking after fellow humans, bhuta yajna, looking after fellow beings, pitra yajna, giving the proper offerings to our pitra devatas, and then rishi yajna, looking after the corpus of knowledge that our rishis have given us, studying and teaching. Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. So if we do these yajnas, and then also if we make sure whatever we experience in life, if we make sure to do arpana, to do samarpana of some portion of that to Bhagavan, then we will not fall into the Kritagna category, and we will not receive Dushkarma Phala from Bhagavan. So, for those who do not do this, Surya is Kritagna. He is the punisher of those who are Kritagna. And then Nashayatyesha Vaibhutam Tathaiva Srijati Prabhu. He both creates this world and dissolves it. Payatyesha Tapatyesha Varshatyesha Gabhastibhihi. He payati, he drinks, Varshati, he rains, Tapati, he evaporates, he heats with his kiranas. So they have very nicely in one half of a shloka, they have set the entire water cycle in. So just the way that our education system used to be, you don't have to sit someone down and have him read the word precipitation 5 times, and then the word evaporation 10 times, and then read the word, whatever, groundwater 10 more times, runoff 10 more times. In this one shloka, this is also another way of communicating the scientific end. Payatyesha, tapatyesha, varashatyesha, gabhastibhihi. The water cycle is very obviously fueled by the sun. Right? Evaporation and precipitation both have to do with the sun in some way or the other. So payati, he drinks, tapati, he rains, varshati, the payatyesha tapatyesha, he heats, he makes the water evaporate, varshati, he rains, gabhastibhi, with his kiranas, with his rays. Esha suptesha jagarti bhutesha parinishthataha. Even when beings sleep, bhuteshu supteshu, esha jagarti, he remains ever awake, ever effulgent as the light of consciousness. He is the Purusha that is within all beings. This is what is given in Upanishads. Sa yaschayam purushe, yascha savaditye, sa ekaha, sa ya evam vita, asmal lokat pretya, etam annamayamatmanupasankramati, etam manomayamatmanupasankramati, etam मनोमयात्मानमुपसंक्रामति एतं विज्ञानमयमात्मानमुपसंक्रामति एतं आनन्दमयमात्मानमुपसंक्रामति. Right, this is the sequence that they have given. Sayaschayam purushe, ayam purushe, that this paramatma that is in this purusha, yaschasa vaditya, this chaitanyam, this paramatma that is in Aditya, sa ekaha, this paramatma, that paramatma are one. Aditya is in Ishvara sthana. This antaryami is within the jiva, or the jiva chaitanya is within the jiva. The Ishvara chaitanya is within Aditya. Sa ekaha, they are one. So this is basically saying Tattvamasi. The Sayaschayam Purushayascha Savaditya Sa Ekaha is basically a Tattvamasi Vakya. Saya Evam Vita, one that knows this, Asmal Lokat Pretya. Once he will attain Videha Mukti. Once he leaves this body, once he leaves this world, Annamayam Atma Sankramati, Annamayam, 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 Pranamayam, Manomayam, Vijnanamayam, Anandamayam. He will transcend all of these 5 koshas and attain Videha Kaivalya, Videha Mukti. So that is Esha Supteshu Jagarti Bhuteshu Parinishthataha. Even though these beings may sleep, Chaitanya remains ever awake within them, and he is Parinishthitaha. He is well established within them as Chaitanya. Esha Evagnihotrancha Phalancha Evagnihotrinam. He is the Swarupa. Agnihotram is, in Mimamsa, it is very important. Agnihotra is not the fire. Agnihotram is the name of a karma. Agnihotrena yajate. He is the Agnihotram juhyat sargakamaha means Agnihotrena yagam bhaved, yagena sargam bhaved is the Mimamsa definition. So this Agnihotram is a very specific type of a particular type of karma that is supposed to be done, which is why in Shishyanishasana, in Taittiriya Upanishad, in Shishyanishasana, or not in Shishyanishasana, in Tapah Prashamsa, or Swadhyaya, in Tapah Prashamsa, or the Swadhyaya Pravachanam sequence, Radhana Swadhyaya Pravachanam, Satyam Swadhyaya Pravachanam, in that sequence, Agnayascha Swadhyaya Pravachanam, Agnihotrancha Swadhyaya Pravachanam are given separately. Agnayaha is the general tending of the Tretagnis, of the Garhapatya, Dakshina, Nahani, Agnis, all the karmas relating to those, or Agnayaha, Agnayascha Swadhyaya Pravachanam is that Agnayaha. But Agnihotram is the specific karma that is supposed to be done. So Agnihotram means he is Vaidika karma, not that he is the fire, he is the Vaidika karma. Phalanchaiva Agnihotrinam, he is the karma and the phala. He is the phala in the sense that he is the karma phala pradata. He is the giver of that fruit. So Phalanchaiva Agnihotrinam. So those who do this Agnihotra, he is the one that gives phala to them. So he is both the karma and karma phala pradata. Vedas, and then in the end, they sum up Surya Tattva in one shloka. We will also wrap up shortly. Vedascha kratavaschaiva kritonam phalamevacha yani krityanulekesha sarvayesha ravih prabhu. Another part has yani krityanulokesha sarvesha cha ravih prabhu is another part. But here look at what they're saying. Vedaha kratavaha kratunam phalam yani krityani sarva esha ravih prabhu. All of this is Surya. What is all of this? Vedaha, the Vedas, Kratavaha, the Kratus, the karmas that are given by the Vedas, Kratunam phalamevacha, the phalam that is done, that is given by the Kratu, Yani Krityani, and all other actions that encompass that Kratu. All of this is Surya. Basically, everything, Yajna Swarupa is Surya. Aham Kratuhu, Aham Yajnam, Swadhaham, Aham Aushadham, Mantroham, Aham Evajyam, Aham Agnihi, Aham Hutam. Where is this? Bhagavad Gita. Everything in Sanatana Dharma, Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, Smriti, Purana, Dharma Shastra, Niti, Nyaya, Kavya, all of these meld together. Even, quite arguably, even more so than Aditya Hridaya, look at the kinds of texts that we have had to talk about to understand Aditya Hridaya holistically. We have pulled from Bhagavad Gita, we have pulled from Kshemendra's Characharya, which is a kind of Dharma Shastra Grantha / Niti Grantha. We have pulled from Upanishads, we have pulled from Arunam, which is a Chayanam, right? It is part of Aranyaka, but there's also Chayanam, the Karma Bhaga within it. These kinds of, we have pulled from Puranas to talk about the Dwadashadityas. We have pulled from Kavya to talk about the nature of Aditya in some places. So Sanatana Dharma is very nice because these all are combined. Look here, Aditya is being presented as the summation of Yajna, as the summation of all the different aspects through different texts that we have discussed right now. Veda, another part here is Deva. Deva and Veda, some people even say that the word Veda came from Deva. But if they say Devashcha Kratavashcha, then the Devatas and then the Kratus that are used to do Aradhana of those Devatas. So those Vedas, the Kratus given by the Vedas, enjoined by the Vedas, Kratunam Phalam, the Phalam that results from those Kratus, and Yani Krityani Lokeshu, Sarva Esha Ravih Prabhu. Everything is this Surya. Another part is Yani Krityanu Lokeshu Sarveshu Cha Ravih Prabhu, or Sarvani Cha Ravih Prabhu is also there. So this is the nature of Surya that they have talked about thus far. This is the Surya Bhagavan that they have done Aradhana of. And then in the end, in the Palashruti, we'll talk about one shloka and then wrap up for today. Pujayasvainamekagro devadevam jagatpatim etat trigunitam japta yuddheshu vijeshisi. So you will win in Yuddha. But how should you do Anusandhana? Look, this is a very nice word. Anusandhana is what we are supposed to do with these stotras. Anusandhana means sitting down and thinking about what these stotras truly mean, which is why Krishnadevaraya in his Amukta Malyada, where he describes the story of Vishnu Chitta and Goda Devi, he talks about what was going on in Vishnu Chitta's house in Telugu Kavya, in Amukta Malyada. Anishthanidhi Gehasiva Nadire Yalinchinan Ninten Nagendra Shayanu Punyakathalam Divya Prabandhanusandhanadhanam. Not, see, Nagendra Shayanu Punyakathalam Divya Prabandhanusandhanadhanam. He says two things there. One is Nagendra Shayanu Punyakathalam. Nagendra Shayana is Vishnu. So Vishnu's charitra is being told. Also Divya Prabandha Anusandhanadhanam. Divya Prabandham is also being told. Divya Prabandham is Vishnu's Katha, is it not? No, Divya Prabandha Anusandhanam is going on. So in one of those, the Parayana, or just the bare minimum of the story, of Vishnu Charitra is being told. In this case, Anusandhana of Vishnu Charitra is being done. Namely, they're talking about it. What happened here? Why did Rishi say it like that? Why did Vyasa Maharshi say this to us? Why did the Bhashyakara, or why did the Vyakhyakara find the need to say this like that? What is special about this? What can I learn from this? What can I learn about this philosophically? What can I apply in this mentally? What can I apply from this to my life? Are there any values I can learn? Are there any morals I can learn? Is there anything about Bhagavan I can understand? They are doing anusandhana of that. That is why Vishnu Chitta became a great bhakta. In the same way, anusandhana of this stotra needs to be done. How? Pujayasva enam. So enam means etal lakshana lakshatam. So etavat paryantam yani yani lakshana noktani suryasya tair lakshanair vishishtaha tair visheshanair vishishtaha yaha suryaha tam enam pujayasva. Do puja of this Surya who has been described to you until now. What kind of Surya? Not as Surya that is some ball of fire, not as Surya that is some Jiva, but as Deva Devam Jagatpatim. Deva means anything that has light. Div. Div means Prakasha. So Deva Devam, the light of lights, or Deva Deva means the God of gods. The all Devatas are beholden to that Paramatma. So Deva Deva Jagatpatim. He has the world under his control. Namely, he is the cause of Srishti Sthita Layas of this world. So, whenever we do Upasana of a Devata, not just Surya, we must always do Upasana of this Devata as Devadeva and Jagatpati. Rama was not some king that ruled Ayodhya. Rama is Devadeva Jagatpati. Shiva is not some Devata that is some Dikpalaka that sits in Kailasa. He is Devadeva Jagatpati. Parvati is not just some wife of some Shiva or Rudra. She is Devadevi. She is Jagat, I guess not Jagat Patni, but Jagatpati Patni or Jagat Shakti. So, whichever Devata we do Aradhana of, we must conceive of them as the Vedantic Ishvara, as the master of these worlds. And that is how we should meditate upon Ishvara. What should our focus be like? Ekagraha. Whenever we do this, our mind should focus wholeheartedly on this. So, if we can put Aditya in our Hridaya through Aditya Hridaya, then Aditya's Hridaya will be very happy because he is Sarvabhuta Hridaya and he is in our Hridaya. A lot of confusion has been created, no doubt, through this Aditya and Hridaya. But this is the Aditya Hridaya Stotra that has been given to us by our Arsha Samskriti. If we can understand this well, if we can imbibe the Surya Tattva, Surya Aradhana is arguably the easiest Aradhana to do because we call him Pratyaksha Narayana. He is, he is the Devata that we can see in front of us, obviously. And he is Sarvakarma Sakshi. We are also very aware that Surya is watching everything that we do. So we have a very close relationship with the sun scientifically, emotionally, philosophically, religiously. All of that is there. Even in some yoga shastras, they will prescribe that you do not eat after sundown for religious reasons, spiritual reasons, health reasons, whatnot. But a reason that they give is if Aditya is there when you eat, Aditya will purify the food. If Aditya is not there when you eat, you have no guarantee in the sattvikata of the food. So, in this way, there is a very close relationship that Bharatiyas share with Surya. And this Surya that is at once very close to us and at once very far from us is is the Paramatma that is at once very close to us and also very far from us. This nature of Surya is very easy to apply to Paramatma. So we are told to do Upasana of Paramatma as Surya, in Surya, through Surya. Governed by the people, for the people, all of that. So do Upasana of Paramatma as Surya, do Upasana of Paramatma in Surya, namely within the Surya Mandala, and do Upasana of Paramatma through Surya. So if we can do that, we will have done our job as Astikas, as Sanatana Dharmis, towards the Jagat Karta, the Jagat Sakshi, the Sarva Karma Sakshi, that is Surya. So with these few words and with Namaskarams to Surya Bhagavan and with Namaskarams to our Acharyas, I will stop here. इत्येषा वाङ्मयी पूजा श्रीमच्छङ्करपादयोरर्पिता तेन देवेशः प्रीयतां मे सदाशिवः तव तत्त्वन्न जानामि कीदृशोऽसि महेश्वर यादृशोऽसि महादेव तादृशाय नमो नमः